You may know how to recognize and respond to anaphylaxis, but do you know how to avoid it? We've got some tips and tricks to make sure you create the safest place possible for the child you're caring for. The only way to avoid anaphylaxis is to avoid the allergen. In the case of food allergies, ingestion is the only way to cause anaphylaxis. While smelling and being around the allergen may cause stress and anxiety, ingestion is the only way to cause anaphylaxis. However, if the family that you're working for asks you not to expose the child in any way, including sight or smell, it's important to respect those wishes. If a child has a venom allergy, a bite or a sting is the only way to have anaphylaxis. It's good practice, especially when outside, to make sure that you don't see any nests or anthills that may have dangerous bugs. For other allergies like medications, exposure to them should be avoided. Let's learn how to look for an allergen on a nutrition label of the food you may want to give the child. First, check the ingredients list for the allergen. If the allergen is one of the top 9 most common allergens, it will be listed in the ingredients list, sometime in bold, or it will be below the ingredients list following the word contains. If you see the phrases may contain or made in a facility with, that means the food may be contaminated with the allergen. So these are also foods that should be avoided. It could have been exposed to the allergen, and that's not worth the risk. Always ask the parent of a child if you have questions. A top tip is to actually ask for safe snacks before the parents even leave, so you can be prepared whenever that kiddo might get hungry. Also, be aware of cross-contact. Cross-contact occurs when an allergen accidentally contacts an otherwise safe food. An example may be buttering bread with the same unwashed knife that was used to make a peanut butter sandwich. The peanut butter, even if wiped off, is contacting the buttered bread, making the buttered bread now contaminated with peanut butter. That knife should have been washed well with soap and warm water before it was used to prepare food for a child with food allergies. There are a couple of things you should do to make sure the food you prepare stays safe for the child you're taking care of. Always wash your hands before and after preparing food. Washing before is good hygiene, and washing after can help prevent cross-contact. Wash with soap and water for at least 20 seconds and dry your hands with a clean paper towel. Always prepare food on a clean surface. If you're preparing food for multiple children, make the food for the child with allergy first to ensure the space is not contaminated with allergens. A great idea is to never make food for a child with allergy at the same time you make food that contains the allergen. You may take lots of safety precautions, but accidents happen, so it's best not to take the risk and prepare safe foods first. Another important part of avoiding anaphylaxis is to ask questions. We've mentioned it before, but it's that important to have its own spotlight. If you're out at a restaurant, always make sure to ask the server if they can safely prepare food without the allergen and without cross-contact before you order anything. If they say no, you'll need to eat elsewhere at a restaurant that can serve the child safely. If you're around others, confirm that any shared toys and spaces have been cleaned, especially if others are eating snacks. Cross-contact can happen on any surface or toy. If you ever worry about an activity, ask the parents or avoid it. Our biggest tip to you is to ask questions. It can save lives. Always ask the parents if you are concerned about the safety of their child during activities. If you already know what you're doing that day, come prepared with questions. Like if an activity is to go to the zoo, ask about safe spaces to play to avoid bugs with venom or safe spaces to eat for a child with food allergy. If multiple children are in the home, ask how they keep all of their children safe. It is important whether they have different allergies or if only one of them has an allergy. Of course, ask what their plan is in case of anaphylaxis. You need to make sure everybody's on the same page. Ask if they have an anaphylaxis action plan that they use at school, and if you can have a copy of that. Through this plan, you can feel more prepared to act with your knowledge and their existing plan. Also note that an anaphylaxis action plan may direct you to give epi if only one system is involved. For example, some allergists recommend their patients with food allergies be administered epinephrine if the kiddo eats their allergen then develops only one symptom, but it's severe, such as facial swelling or trouble breathing. Remember, epinephrine has no long-term side effects, so err on the side of caution by using epi when that child is having a severe allergic reaction. You now know lots of great ways to avoid anaphylaxis when taking care of a child, and that exposure is the only way for anaphylaxis to happen. Make sure you ask questions of both the parents and to staff wherever you take the child so you can ensure that that child is safe while in your care. Also, make sure you have a plan with the parents in case an accident happens and anaphylaxis occurs. Use all of these great tips to keep a child safe.